What is up? Welcome into the PFF Preview Podcast. We are coming to you live from Queen City Radio in downtown Cincinnati, like we will be every Thursday during the season. I'm Mike Renner, joined by Sam Monson today. No Steve Palazzolo. He canceled on us at the last second for, I don't know, what does he have to do?
Terrible reasons. I think you have to take a sick child to hospital or something.
Sick
no
child.
excuse.
Yeah, that's terrible.
It is already week 3, but it is not too late to dive back into some fantasy football with DraftKings 1 Week Fantasy Football. This Sunday, DraftKings is hosting a $100,000 pick'em contest that is completely free to enter. Nothing charged to you guys whatsoever. Pick'em is the newest way to play 1 Week Fantasy Football. Drafting your team is faster than ever. DraftKings has organized players in 8 tiers. All you have to do is select one player from each tier. Choose between a public contest with big cash prizes or do a private contest with you and your friends. I know I've played in some leagues with my boys back home. DraftKings also has beginner and casual contests where you'll play against people of similar skill levels. So the best part is you get a new team each week. There's no commitment. You're not stuck with your same crappy team all year long. So get to DraftKings right now. Use the promo code PFF and you will be entered in a free contest to win $100,000 in prizes this Sunday. Go ahead. DraftKings.com, enter the promo code PFF, free to enter, and you guys will enjoy it.
All right, let's get right into the games, though. It's Thursday. The Rams travel to San Francisco to play the 49ers tonight. Jared Goff, looking better this season. They're giving 3 points to the 49ers. Who do you like in this one, Sam?
I don't like either team. I think this is a game where you're looking for individuals. You know, nobody likes the overall level of football that's going to get played tonight. You're going to have to look for specific individual people. Whether Jared Goff can continue that upswing in performance, whether Cooper Kupp is the real deal, whether DeForest Buckner can do damage against a team that isn't the Seattle Seahawks offensive line.
Yeah,
but both these teams overall are pretty bad.
This seems like a classic Thursday night. Everyone complains about how bad the football game is going to be because these aren't two great football teams. The 49ers are going to be competing for the number 1 overall pick, I feel like, this year. And it might be 20 points scored all day.
And it would be no better if it was played on Sunday or Monday night. It was just the same. They're just two bad teams.
I do think, though, the Rams' defensive line going up against that 49ers offensive line is going to be the matchup that ultimately decides this game. I don't see how the 49ers are going to have enough time to execute any sort of offense in this one.
Well, they haven't been able to execute offense all season long anyway. Although they have got some guys on that offensive line, or really just Trent Brown, somehow playing really well this season. It's going to be... I'm kind of curious to see if he can keep that going, because it's all been pass protection. This is a guy that's like a man mountain. There's no way he should be able to hold up pass blocking for any extended period of time. He's just too big, and yet it's been going that way.
Yeah, Trent Brown is enormous. He has some blocks in the run game sometimes where he will take a guy 5 to 10 yards off the line of scrimmage, but him going backwards is not a pretty sight sometimes.
Yeah, he's perfect in pass protection so far. No pressures through 2 games. He is like 6'8", 380 pounds or something, and somehow he hasn't been giving up pressure.
Really is a marvel to watch, but I still think, like I said, Rams defensive line, they're going to be too much. Jared Goff, I think he's much improved, even though didn't get that comeback down the stretch. That pick at the end of the Redskins game a week ago was pretty ugly. I do think he has a better outing against the 49ers defense that's not anything special. I think they win this one and win this one handily.
Yeah, I think that Rams offensive line has been better. It's not amazing yet, but it's at least got to the point where it's capable of holding its own, especially on the edges. Mm-hmm. And the 49ers have only really been able to get damage up the middle from Buckner. And that came against the Seahawks offensive line, which is
everyone will be do damage against the Seahawks offensive line.
Exactly. As bad an offensive line as you're going to see all year in the NFL. The Rams are at least dramatically better than that. They should be able to hold this 49ers defense in check.
Yeah, we'll get to that Seahawks offensive line a little later. We both like the Rams in this one. All right, on to Sunday's games where the Ravens, giving 4 points, travel across the pond to meet the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are playing at the Jaguars' second home, it seems like, out in London. Who do you like in this one? Out over on your neck of the woods there.
Well, it's now 9 a.m. for me. That doesn't make any sense. This is supposed to be like the regular early game at 1 p.m. or whatever it is, or 2 p.m. So this is throwing my timing completely haywire. Like the London game that the Jags seem to be trying to make a fixture. This is interesting because the Jaguars came out of the gates fast week 1, beat up on the Texans, who now look to be a much worse team than everyone was expecting them to be. But the Ravens have looked strong, and the Jags struggled much more when they faced the Tennessee Titans, who should be a legitimate side. So I guess you've got to favor the Ravens, who just look like that. They look closer to the Titans than they do the Texans, at which point it's tough to see how the Jags can overcome that.
Yeah, the Jaguars' offense in this one, the only thing that sort of got them through week 1 and got them the win at Houston was a semblance of some sort of running game. They could pound the ball all game long, not put Blake Bortles in situations where he has to throw the ball in 3rd and longs. When you move the chains all on his back, I don't see them having any sort of success on the ground in this one. That Ravens defensive front 7 is arguably the best against the run in the entire NFL. I don't think there's any team I would like to that I could say can run the ball on them this season. That has a lot of value, and I think that the Jaguars, especially with not a good offensive line, Fournette has looked good, has been able to grind out some yardage, but he needs some sort of hole to grind out some yards. I don't think that's going to happen. So it's all on Blake Bortles at that point, and that's about the last position I want to be as a Jaguars fan.
Yeah, so the Jaguars probably aren't going to score too many points. And then the other side of the ball, their defense looked amazing in that first week, but they got stomped by the Titans. The Titans put up 37 points on them or whatever it was. So suddenly this Jaguars defense that was the strength of the team for the first week doesn't look like it's as good as we thought it was.
This looks like another game where everyone's going to be complaining about how bad the football is because it's on its own. It's the 9 a.m. game. No one else is going to be watching any other football at the time, so everyone's going to be able to get to complain. It's going to be 12-7. It's going to be a super low scoring game because that Ravens offense is about as high powered as the Jaguars offense is. They just haven't been turning the ball over like the Jaguars. They have basically neutered Joe Flacco. He is not throwing the ball down the field at all. His average depth of target this year is 5 yards down the field, which is that's a yard and a half lower than Alex Smith, to give you a comparison. That is ultra low. They're just not letting him throw the ball down the field whatsoever. And so this one could turn into, with how good those Jaguars cornerbacks are, I still like the Ravens to win, but it might be 10-7. And they might win handily at that.
I think this is one of those defensive battles where it might actually be good defense as opposed to just two completely inept offenses slugging it out, which is why nobody can score. I think this might we see some good defensive football from both sides.
Which no one wants to see anymore nowadays.
No, that's true.
All right, I like the Ravens, so I don't think it's hard not to.
Yeah, same. I can't really see any way the Jags take that.
All right, on to the Denver Broncos, who are all of a sudden taking the NFL by storm after a 25-point beatdown of the Dallas Cowboys last Sunday. They traveled cross-country to Buffalo, faced the Bills. They're only favored by 3 in this one. Who do you like, Sam?
Well, the Bills have quietly looked better than people thought they were going to. I mean,
have they, though?
Yeah.
They beat the Jets.
They haven't looked like a team that is going to be vying for the number 1 overall pick, which is, I think, what people thought they were going to be.
Well, they were trying. That's like what they were attempting to do. They still had a talented roster that people thought, maybe they backdoor into the playoffs in a weak AFC East before that. But they trade away all that talent all of a sudden, and then you don't just go from maybe they're making the playoffs to number 1 overall pick. So I think they're still a 6-10, 5-11 though team at the end of the day.
Maybe, yeah, but I think that makes them a tough out for a lot of teams.
Okay.
Especially the Broncos, who probably aren't going to be a 13-win team. They're going to be looking at 10. There's not that much difference between those two teams. Mm-hmm. And Tyrod Taylor, despite them trying to dismantle that entire team around him, has been playing okay. I mean, they had a chance to win that game late against Carolina. A combination of Tyrod kind of missing a deep shot and Zay Jones not being able to bring in the ball. On the back of that, between the two of them, they conspired to screw that up and not come away with it. The thing I'm really interested about, though, is that Denver defense. And it looks better than certainly I thought it was going to be rolling into the season. The thing that amazed me about that Dallas game that I don't think anybody saw coming is that they completely destroyed the run game. And you dove into that a little bit this week. How did they completely bottle up that running scheme?
Two big reasons that I identified. I actually wrote an article on ProFootballFocus.com if you want to go check it out. It was, one, I think they're actually, in terms of talent-wise, they are much better this season.
Yeah.
Jared Crick, not on the field. He never seen a double team they didn't want to end up 4 yards off the line of scrimmage on one knee against. Just having him off the field is a huge boom for that defense. Sylvester Williams off the field, that's good as well.
Pecco's on the field, though.
But that's splitting hairs at that point. But the Jared Crick thing is big because the people replacing him, Adam Gotsis, looks so much improved against the run this year. His technique was awful last year. He was not taking on double teams correctly. So much better this year. Handled himself well against someone like Tyron Smith last week, which was impressive. And then my guy Shelby Harris looks.
Yeah.
He came out of nowhere. Had left fewer than 200 snaps before this season. From what I saw from him in that game against Dallas, he was eating Chaz Green's lunch left guard there for Dallas. That dude's the real deal in the middle. And then Shaquille Barrett is going to have a huge season. From what I saw, he beat Tyron Smith a handful of times off the edge. Very impressive. Was doing it in the run game as well. So I just think talent-wise they're better. And then they stacked the box play after play after play. They had an extra man, even on all 9 of Ezekiel Elliott's carries. They had an unaccounted for man in the box, which you can have perfect blocking with an unaccounted for man. You still can have a run go for, no yards, 2 yards.
If you've got everybody accounted for, the running back still has to make a guy miss to go anywhere.
Exactly. Everyone fills their gap, and all of a sudden you spill it right to the guy who's unblocked. And they did that a handful of times, and that's basically why they ended up passing so much, because Dak saw, you get that option at the line. If there's a loaded box, you audible to a pass, and he had favorable looks in the passing game. They just wasn't executing. And that's why I think at the end of the game, Jason Garrett said he put it all on Dak Prescott, because Dak Prescott put it all on himself by calling his own number on a lot of passes.
Yeah, and he did throw the ball right to Aqib Talib twice.
Oh, yeah. Not good. So
that's going to help. I mean, the Broncos have that fascinating secondary because they're able to do that. They're able to crowd the box the way a lot of teams can't, because they're completely fine with the idea of matching up.
When you don't have to worry at all about your cornerbacks against someone like Des Bryant, when you don't have to game plan whatsoever for that has so much value, and that's why they're the best pass defense in the NFL over the last few years.
And it's not even like they can only do that with one guy. They didn't worry about Des Bryant, whether it was Aqib Talib on him. They didn't worry about him, whether it was Chris Harris on him. They're fine with wherever they want to put Des Bryant.
And you compare Des Bryant to the receivers the Bills have in this one.
Yeah.
I'm struggling to see how the Bills move the ball offensively. That 3-point line to me is begging. I might tease that up a little bit, because that just is begging to be. I don't see how this one's close. I get there on the road. I get that the Broncos are a different animal at home versus on the road.
Yeah.
But the Bills' offense is just not a good offense.
No, I mean, the only X factor there is they have a dangerous quarterback in terms of being able to take off and make things happen with his legs. Tyrod Taylor.
If you play man coverage against Tyrod Taylor, he breaks the pocket, all of a sudden maybe that's 20 yards.
Exactly, yeah. So you could get a couple of plays over the course of the game that transform them from sunk to suddenly we've made a play, we've got ourselves into point scoring range, and this is a game again.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, we like the Broncos.
It should be,
That line I don't know. What does Vegas know that we don't hear on this one? That one's calling my name. All right, on to the Saints, who travel to division rival Carolina to face the Panthers. Panthers favored by 5.5 in this one. And the Saints, the Saints are playing man coverage the third highest rate in the NFL. They are giving up a passer rating of 150 on those plays. I saw the other stat the other day on passes targeted 15 plus yards down the field against the Saints. They're giving up a completion percentage of 88%, which the drop rate in the NFL is 7 to 8%, which means they're almost right at perfect with no with drops.
Every number on the New Orleans defense is amazing. It's like the way J.J. Watt, every number that you pull out with J.J. Watt is staggering compared to the rest of the league. It's the same with the Saints defense, but on the other end of the scale. So we pulled out some numbers that was average tackle depth for players in the NFL, and we did it by position. Devontae Harris, at the moment, through 2 weeks of the season, his average tackle depth is 22 yards downfield. He's just getting killed. The Saints, when they get pressure on defense, we talked about generating pressure will take a quarterback's passer rating typically down 30 points. It takes it from 94 to to 60-ish long term. The Saints are giving up a perfect passer rating when they get pressure. That's not supposed to be how it works. Even when they get something done right, it's going badly because the back end is so completely horrendous.
I remember you telling me you being a fan of Devontae Harris in the draft process.
Yeah.
And you're way higher on him than everyone else. I mean, he went undrafted, so you're very high on him. And he is good in the underneath game. I liked him as a slot corner. I liked what he could bring to the table, but there was a play against Laquan Treadwell where 4'6", 4'6'7" Laquan Treadwell ran a post and was separating down the field. Was literally gaining yardage on them, both at a dead sprint. And that's when I was like, that's not gonna be good in the NFL.
No, he also has a very specific technique that they kind of need to use him with that they don't. So he's struggling a bit, and they're not putting him in a great situation.
That's an understatement. Struggling a bit. He is arguably
struggling badly. But I'm still taking it as a win, though. This is a guy CBS had him as the 82nd ranked corner that year, and he's made a roster and he's starting games for the Saints, but still.
The craziest thing, all the stats is about the Saints defense. The single craziest thing to me is that through 2 weeks, they legitimately have a shutdown cornerback on the roster.
Yeah.
Like Marshawn Lattimore gave up 28 yards last week. He was great in week 1 against Minnesota too, I thought. And they've been getting when you have a shutdown cornerback on your roster, usually that means you have some semblance of a good pass defense. No, not at all. Not even close.
Well,
the worst pass defense in the NFL, yet a legit number 1 corner on the roster.
They've reached that point where the difference between number 1 and number 2, 3, 4 in their cornerback stable is so great that why would you ever throw it in Marshawn Lattimore's direction? It's like Nnamdi Asomugha years back for Oakland.
It's going to turn into that.
He just wasn't thrown at. He would be thrown at twice per game over the course of the season. And part of that was because he was really good. Yeah. But part of that was because everyone else was so bad that why would you ever test him? And I think you're going to get the same thing with Lattimore. He could look phenomenal this season and end up with 30 targets getting thrown his way because Devontae Harris and PJ Williams are just getting lit up for 1,000 yards apiece. So it just doesn't make any sense to throw it in his direction.
So can this Saints defense breathe some life into Cam Newton? Because this is not MVP Cam Newton. This isn't even close.
And Cam Newton is injured. He's banged up. He's been missing practices. He's clearly not 100% healthy. And he is a quarterback where if he isn't 100% healthy, the difference between healthy Cam Newton and injured Cam Newton is just colossal. He just looks off and wrong. And that's because even at his best, he looks a little bit off and wrong with, all these airmail passes and that kind of thing. So it's going to be a big test. I mean, this is as easy as it gets. He's making every quarterback look like Tom Brady, including Tom Brady. So, if he can get Cam Newton's season back on track, and then you get the idea of what the Panthers are going to do with Christian McCaffrey and Jonathan Stewart. The Saints don't have anyone that can match up with that.
Saints linebackers.
Anzalone lining up against Burkhead. They've been giving teams favorable matchups with less talented receiving backs than Christian McCaffrey is.
If there is a silver lining, though, Cam Newton, for the Saints defense, like I said, they played man coverage third most in the NFL. Cam Newton last year was the most inaccurate quarterback. His adjusted completion percentage against man coverage was the worst in the NFL. I think that doesn't actually matter because of how bad the Saints are at man coverage, but just something to think about. I'm still taking the Panthers here. 5.5 seems a little high to me, but I still like them to win the game.
He's going to miss some throws, but he's going to have so many wide open that it just doesn't matter. They're going to get more than enough points that way.
All right, on to the Steelers, who travel to the Bears, and a game where Steelers favored by 7.5. It seems just low on paper. The Bears don't look like They're another team competing for that top 5 pick. Their number 1 overall.
Their offensive line is in ribbons. What we thought would be a strength of the team is now in pieces. Cody Whitehair has been, I think last week he played all 3 interior positions over the course of the game. And that's just never going to work. And he has struggled badly to start this season. We thought that this guy was going to take a step forward and look like arguably the best center in the entire league, given how he played last season. And he's just had 2.
He's the lowest graded right now.
Yeah, 2 horrendous games. And part of that is that he's bounced around all 3 positions, but there's just nobody there. Josh Sitton has been playing badly with all the shuffles as well. The tackles were the weak spot of that line anyway, and they haven't been playing well. So
we look like idiots for calling them the 5th best offensive line in the NFL is what you're saying.
Well, the injury to Kyle Long has started dominoes falling, and the whole thing has just collapsed.
It was another one where I talked about the Cardinals last week, how they deserved to have a terrible offensive line for switching positions for no reason, flipping the sides of their tackles. The Bears deserve this because they flipped sides with Josh Sitton.
There is a reason. It's not a good reason, but there is a reason.
Okay.
So the Bears wanted to swap them sides because if Charles Leno goes down at left tackle, Kyle Long is going to be number 2. He's going to be the backup left tackle and presumably the starter at left tackle somewhere down the line. So they wanted to flip them into the situation so that the guy that has to come out and play left tackle only has to take a step to his left. He doesn't have to flip sides completely to do it.
All right. I mean, there's some logic there. Does it warrant me flipping my guards? No, not at all.
I don't think so. I think if it was a couple of years ago with Josh Sitton, I don't think you'd have even done it because Josh Sitton would have done a reasonable job at stepping out as an emergency left tackle. And also, it's only really a problem for that week. You know, the week the guy goes down. You've got a week to prepare at any other time to swap the guy right to left side. That's doable. I mean, literally, the only time it's helping you out is the game that he goes down in.
Yes, that's just okay. But let's talk about the Steelers and their offense, which hasn't looked like top 5 offense, though everyone thought, Martavis Bryant back, Antonio Brown
done as well.
Ooh, are you gonna say it, Sam? I
got beaten to the Eli Manning one. Somebody wrote up Eli Manning is done.
Yeah, that was me.
So I've got to claim Ben Roethlisberger's done now. I got to get out ahead of that one.
Yeah, get out ahead of this one because I am close to fully on board with. He's not. It just does he should be tearing up the defenses he's facing, and he's not. With the time he's been afforded, it's just there's something going on there. He's not.
He hasn't been playing well.
The same guy.
It's not this year. I mean, he's been playing poorly by his standards for a while. 2015 was maybe the best season he's had. 2016 was dramatically worse than that, and this year looks even worse than last year. And
I could have given some stuff last year because he played injured for a while and had that one
Martavis Bryant.
Yeah, had that one weird game where he came back and just never should have come back halfway through the game and looked awful. But
I think a lot of last year was excused away by no Martavis Bryant. Mm-hmm. You take Martavis Bryant out of that team, and it's Antonio Brown, it's Le'Veon Bell, and nobody else. And you can at least explain why a guy would struggle as a quarterback when you've got one weapon that a team can take away if they want to do it, and nothing else.
Overload a box
Whereas when you've got Martavis Bryant, there's no excuses anymore. You've got 2 legitimate guys that can't be matched up on one-on-one. You've got Le'Veon Bell in the backfield. You've got one of the best offensive lines in the league. There's no excuse for a quarterback to be playing that bad, given how good he has been in his career. And when a guy starts talking about retirement, it's a bad sign.
No, I do wonder how committed you are if you're talking about retirement. Is he preparing the same way in the offseason? Is his head completely there? Because, like you said, you don't talk about retirement if you're 100% with the team they had, how close they are to a Super Bowl. To be thinking about retirement with that sort of team that's worrisome. So, in this one, I don't think it matters. It's the Bears, and they're the talent level is so insanely.
Antonio Brown was able to get some joy last week against the Vikings when they had Xavier Rhodes going one-on-one with him all game. The Bears, for start, don't have anyone like Xavier Rhodes.
The Bears, though, shut down number 1 receivers. They game plan pretty hard for number 1. They play a lot of cover 6. They put safety over the top. They'll put a safety over the top of Antonio Brown all game.
So even if they take him away schematically, there you go, Martavis Bryant. And that's kind of what the Vikings did. They left Xavier Rhodes on him one-on-one all game, and Brown did a reasonable job of getting some production against Xavier Rhodes. But it meant that Martavis Bryant got to absolutely destroy Trey Waynes a couple of times deep. Just the one thing that Trey Waynes is supposed to be able to do, and he got killed deep a couple of times. So the Bears are going to get killed by either Martavis Bryant or Le'Veon Bell up front. That's going to be interesting, though, because this Chicago defensive front, I think, is actually sneaky good. Ooh. Eddie Goldman somehow is actually really quite decent against the run, despite being a guy we didn't love coming out. They're now hurting a bit at linebacker because they've lost Jarrell Freeman. They've lost his backup as well. He's banged up. So they're going to struggle at the second level. But at least up front, Akeem Hicks, Eddie Goldman will be a challenge for that offensive line.
Is Pernell McPhee ever going to get healthy? Is he just perpetually going to play 200 to 600 snaps?
Yeah, I think he's just permanently banged up.
He's so talented. They really need him because him and Leonard Floyd, that's dangerous, but he can barely see the field. All right, we both like the Steelers. I truthfully like the Steelers to cover at 7.5 as well. So on to the Falcons, who travel to the Detroit Lions, and the Detroit Lions they can't stop killing us. They win again. So Janoris Jenkins was out, whatever. They still handled the Giants' offense. A lot of teams handle the Giants' offense, but they still win a game against a talented team. Are they going to keep the magic going?
This is annoying because if they were facing a bad team, I might have jumped on board. If they were coming off that Monday Night Football performance against the Giants and they were rolling into even Cincinnati, the way they've been playing, you'd be saying, okay, Detroit could win this one. But they're going up against the Falcons, who look good. So I can't pick them against the Falcons, but they do look better than I think we've been giving them credit for. With the exception of Greg Robinson, who still sucks, that team looks pretty good. Matthew Stafford is still playing quite well. He's still continuing that Jim Bob Cooter effect. He's been a completely different player since that guy took over. Amir Abdullah finally started to flash the talent that everyone
finally
knew
started to
already.
see the field.
Yeah.
He's actually playing.
And the defense, like every single player on defense seems to be one of our surprises of the first 2 weeks. Quandre Diggs has rediscovered how to cover people. So yeah, I think the Lions are better than we were giving them credit for, but they're still not going to beat Atlanta.
I'm picking the Lions. I can't remember the last time I picked the Lions. I've been against them probably their last 6 to 7 games, and I'm going to pick the Lions in this one because I just don't think the Falcons are. I don't think they're close to the level they were a season ago. The Packers game was more to me Packers defense not having it than anything the Falcons did.
And their offensive line.
Their week 1 to me seemed more indicative of what the Falcons are this year. They're almost losing to the Bears on the road. They go on the road this one to Detroit. I just think it's a fairly even it's a more even matchup than a lot of people would say with the Falcons almost winning the Super Bowl last year and the Lions limping into the playoffs. I'll just say that.
I think that's fair. I mean, the state of Detroit at the moment, given how banged up the Green Bay Packers are, those are comparable teams, I guess. But I get, they're comparable teams, and the Falcons pretty much whooped the Packers, even if the Packers scored some late points.
The Packers were without the 4 best players, or 4 of their 5 highest graded players a season ago outside of Aaron Rodgers. I do think, though, Matt Stafford, the way he's playing right now is, I think it's the best football of his career.
Oh, definitely.
He's creating stuff outside the pocket.
Yeah.
He is
and he needs to.
And he's basically
Greg
like,
Robinson.
he looks like he's right below that elite tier of quarterbacks the way he's playing right now to me. Him and Matt Ryan hasn't been quite as Matt Ryan as we saw a season ago. So, like I just said, Lions at home, I think I'll just give them the edge. I think I'm just actually picking Lions just to sort of get some more Lions fans to listen to this because.
Well, we bigged them up in the review podcast. We talked about Quandre Diggs.
We're trying to gain favor with Detroit if they're actually starting to grade out well.
What is going to be interesting though is Takaris McKinley is going to destroy.
Don't even try it.
Yeah, you're right. That's exactly what I should have done. Tak McKinley is going to destroy Greg Robinson, kill him, murder him.
Anyone they put there is going to destroy Greg
Robinson. But him worse. Like they potentially lost Vic Beasley injured, and they may have upgraded because Tak McKinley is now going to play all the time. And that's
no, don't call that an upgrade. Okay, that's too hot of a take
really?
Right now. But you're going Falcons. I'm going Lions. We'll see how it goes.
We've made it 2 weeks. Again, I'm George Shahure, and I'm joined by Eric Eager. We're excited to represent the PFF Analytics team, give you guys some picks. As we usually do, we'll give you one pick here on the podcast. We're 2-0, by the way, with our lock of the week. And then if you want more, you can head to profootballfocus.com and check out the article where we give you 5 picks. We are 7-2-1 on those. And then if you want the whole thing, get yourself a PFF Elite subscription. I think we're doing fairly decent there as well, Eric. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, with the Thursday night football game, the Brian Hoyer backdoor cover, we're 20-6 so far against the spread after Thursday night games. So, yep, we're doing pretty good. That doesn't mean we'll do 77% the rest of the season, obviously, but so far we've been on the right side of a lot of games. So that's pretty encouraging, I guess.
It sounds like that glass is a little half full, so I just have poured the water out of my glass there to make sure that I even it out. I'm looking forward to a nice 1-15 week this week, just to make sure things are returning to balance. And with that being said, let's get to our lock of the week here. So I don't think either of us feel great about this week, right? I mean, it's like you look at the slate and it's kind of miserable. But if there's ever a week to go to London, this seems like a good one. So we have Ravens 23 over the Jaguars 17. The Jags are +4 in that game. And we like the Ravens to put the smack down. So as we usually do, counterpoint and a point, both of which are going to be better than a Kai Forbath extra point, though. I'll guarantee that.
Absolutely.
They better be, at least. So I'll go ahead and jump in here because when we first talked, I was an adamant Jaguars fan. And then our model just slapped me in the face a couple of times. And so I'm going to try and make the kind of the initial point that I had in my mind, which is, look, Marshall Yanda's out. He's the best guard in the NFL. I know he plays guard, but he's been the top-rated guard each of the past 3 seasons. And if there's pressure in Joe Flacco's face, he's not very accurate. He has the second worst adjusted completion percentage in the NFL since 2015 under pressure. The only person that's worse, the only quarterback that's worse, is Carson Wentz. I'm not going to go into Carson Wentz at all, but that scares me a little bit. So I don't know. If things go wrong, I feel like that's where it's going to end up. But I think there's some other points that might make us a little more comfortable with this.
Yeah, and I mean, we all are interested in guard wins, so that's an important thing. And by the way, in Pro Football Reference's approximate value, Chris Chester was higher than Marshall Yanda last year, so I don't know what you're really talking about, George. So yeah, I mean, the Yanda loss notwithstanding, I mean, there's a bigger loss, I think, on the side of the Jaguars, which is Allen Robinson. And while, they were able to come together and beat a Houston team, on the road in week 1, it wasn't quite the outfit in week 2 that, would make me think that they could put up points against the Baltimore Ravens defense that's only given up 10 so far all season. They're going to, the Jaguars have given Fournette about 40 carries over the first 2 weeks. And that's a bad thing when, the Ravens run defense has been one of the best in the league, at least through last year. And then the first 2 weeks this year, they've been stout as well, So I just don't necessarily see this being one of those things where, you look at the Ravens defense and they've only played, another ginger, Andy Dalton and Deshaun Kaiser / Kevin Hogan, mix last week against the Browns and say, well, they've played 2 bad offenses. They're going to regress. Well, the Jaguars are a bad offense. So, I just don't, I know Steve growing up a Jaguars fan is really going to get after us after this one, but, I just don't necessarily see them being able to cover a 4-point spread when they're not going to be able to score that many points to begin with.
It's just mean. Blake Bortles wants to take the next step. You're holding him back. Not very nice, but.
If we would just be more nice to Blake Bortles, I feel like he would take that next step, and we're just in his way.
You think that's it? He's just sensitive?
Maybe. Twitter's mean, man.
That'd be a great story. Well, maybe he's channeling his inner Kevin Durant. He's outwardly projecting that he's not worried about the haters, but inside it's tearing him up. He just can't handle it. So maybe if Blake Bortles facts Twitter handle just took itself down, he'd return to normal. Like, he just can't stop reading it, and we'll find out that he's been, vigorously defending himself with these burner Twitter accounts.
That's one's gold, by the way.
That's all we need. That's an amazing account. Yeah, if you don't follow it, I don't even know what it's exactly called. It's like Blake Bortles facts or something.
I mean, there's only 1 or 2 players that are picked in that entire draft that have more touchdown passes than Blake Bortles, and you're calling him a bust.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good. But you should not only follow that account, you should definitely check out our 5 picks that are up on the site, as well as get yourself a subscription to PFF Elite. That's all we've got for this week, but God willing, we survived the London, crapshoot or whatever it's going to be, and we'll be back.
Among Brits, you need grit.
This is true. This is a fact. All right, guys, we'll see you next week. Back to Cincinnati.
We're going to switch gears here for a second to talk to you guys about our new favorite way to play fantasy football. That's right, the Draft app on the App Store. They have these things called best ball leagues where you draft a team right now at the beginning of the season, and it stays static through the whole year. You don't have to change your lineups. You don't have to worry about injuries because your top point scorers every week are the guys that will count. So you don't have to worry about that you started the wrong guy, you made the wrong move. Your lineup is what it is. Once you draft it, it stays the same throughout the season. You can win money. I know my team's looking good so far this season. You can play in leagues over $100. You can play in leagues as cheap as $3. So if you go to the App Store right now, download the app, and use the promo code PFF, you'll be entered into a free $3 best ball league. Go ahead and do that. Play against us. I'm PFF_Mike in there. Go friend me. Go follow me. And play in some leagues against me. That's Draft in the App Store. DRAFT. Go check it out.
All right, on to the Browns, who are favored for the first time, and I'm not sure how long, but they're traveling to Indianapolis to face the Colts. They're giving 1.5 points. They are favored with Deshaun Kaiser still at quarterback, but it's because the Colts are
terrible.
Yeah, not good.
The Colts are awful. This could be a low-scoring game, and this will be bad football, low-scoring game, not good defense, low-scoring game.
Yeah, this is another one where people are going to be complaining about because this is going to look ugly. I think there are in the NFL right now a lot more ugly teams than usual. There are teams that are not. The tanking method has spread throughout the NFL where people understand that high draft picks have a lot of value and that if you're going to be bad, you want to be really bad. And these are two teams right now that are going to be really bad.
But these are two teams that are bad for different reasons. The Browns are bad because they've been terrible for a long time and they're still rebuilding and they're moving in the right direction. The Colts are bad because their offensive line still is awful. The one guy that was carrying that team to make them look anything other than a horrendous roster is Andrew Luck, and he's still out. So as long as Andrew Luck is out, this team is going to look awful because there's no talent there. And that offensive line is not going to be able to protect Jacoby Brissett long enough for him to do anything, even if he was capable of having an Andrew Luck kind of game when he was protected. The Browns have problems across the roster, but they should be better than the Colts, I think, because there's more talent there now.
If the Colts lose this one, which, we're both going to, I'm picking the Browns, I think you pick the Browns. The Colts lose this one, you drop to 0-3. You have, your season is over at 0-3.
Yes.
Realistically, even if Andrew Luck comes back next week, you'd have to go something like 10-3 over your last 13 games.
And they're not good enough.
Yeah,
even with Andrew Luck.
That's a roster that was borderline playoff, was borderline, 500 with Andrew Luck last year. So, do they have to make a change at head coach, or does he get a pass? Does Chuck Pagano get a pass because you didn't have Andrew Luck this year? Because to me, his offense and the failure to address the offensive line and the failure to adjust with a bad offensive line and not put him in all those deep dropbacks is the reason why he's missed 2 out of the last 3 seasons now.
There's a couple of, I think it's bad across the board. You know what I mean? The coaching has not been good in terms of what you said. They have not put Andrew Luck in the best position, even to succeed. They haven't put him in the best position to win games, let alone to stay healthy winning games. So that's a problem. But the personnel is terrible. There's so little talent on that roster that even with perfect coaching, even with Bill Belichick, they're doing everything he can to maximize the talent of the guys there. It's just not that good.
One of these still funniest, one of the worst awards I've ever seen given out was when Ryan Grigson, after his first year as general manager, won Executive of the Year or whatever at the NFL Awards. First year as general manager because he picked Andrew Luck and they went from 1-15 to making the playoffs. The easiest decision of all time. All of a sudden, a guy wins Executive of the Year, and he was not even sugarcoating it. One of the worst GMs in the NFL.
Well, not even the easiest decision, but it's not like he had anything to do with it. You know what I mean? They went 1-15 because their first quarterback broke and missed the entire season, and they weren't able to win any games without him. So you're now sitting there with the number 1 overall pick, and you pick the best quarterback available, and you go back to being good again.
It was a no-brainer. It was just a joke of an award. He's gone though now, and I think they are moving in the right direction. But you need Andrew Luck to be healthy, and you need an offense that's going to protect him.
They need another couple of seasons worth of talent injected into that team.
That's because your boy though, Malik, it's looking all right.
Got himself his interception.
Yeah,
did the center field thing, the single high.
You probably were creaming over there.
I'm just saying, I tweeted it out as soon as it happened. That was the play.
That was the one you're waiting for. All right, we both like the Browns in this one, though. Let's move on to the Bucs, who travel to the Vikings, who no one knows what's going on with Sam Bradford right now, but he's okay. Mike Zimmer said he's okay.
Whether he plays or not, he's okay.
Yeah, he's cool with whatever's going on with his knee. It's fine.
I think he just might mentally,
might not play. Yeah.
Just know whether Sam Bradford is injured or not, he's okay. We're looking after him, and he's gonna be fine.
He's completely okay, but might not play. Because guys are okay and just take days off all the time. If he doesn't play, little chance they win. Let's assume he's playing though for the sake of this, because him not playing is a death knell for that team. What do you think? I like the Bucs as. I just like a lot of things about the Bucs, like offensively, defensively. What I saw from them last week, even if Sam Bradford's playing, I think I still like them.
That's right. That side of the ball, the Bucs offense against the Vikings defense, I think it's a really interesting matchup because neither team is perfect. Neither team is dominant on that side of the ball, but they're both good. So you've got this kind of flawed Minnesota Vikings defense going up against this flawed Tampa Bay offense, with matchups, I think, that favor both sides in specific places. Like Everson Griffin is going to have himself a day because he's going against Donovan Smith, who, I mean, you would be a better left tackle than Donovan Smith. Some of the blocks
is he going to be our boy this year at left tackle that we have to bring up?
Well, left tackle maybe, but Menelik Watson is the guy at right tackle.
Yeah, we got to stick with the Broncos.
Have you seen Menelik Watson's schedule?
It's the AFC West.
No, but it's worse than that because in addition to the AFC West, you've got the NFC East. So he's got the Giants, the Eagles. It's horrendous.
JPP, that's Brandon Graham.
He's also got Carlos Dunlap of the Bengals. He's got Jerry Hughes of the Bills.
He's going to have a fun grade by the end of the year. But
I was saying that if he stays out there for 16 games, he could give up 20 sacks.
That I would love to. Let's hope. We're praying for Menelik to
keep
it together. For. I mean, are they going to put Down Stevenson in again? I don't think so. All right, but let's
But Donovan Smith has been playing that level of bad. I mean, he was absolutely terrible against the Chicago defense.
He has some reps though that are real nice. Like he teases you with like these blocks.
Well, he would have to, otherwise why would he be out there?
But then he has some of the most low effort pass blocks where it's like one punch. I got beat. Oops. Well, next play.
It's just it
really is hard to watch.
The leaden-footed, slow, lunge at a guy as he just immediately swims around you, and you just kind of I think it's when a guy swings and misses like that, and there's just this slow turn where they look back at the damage they've just inflicted upon their quarterback. And it just looks pathetic.
The remorseless, okay.
Yeah, it just from a body language point of view, it just looks terrible.
Yeah, but I do love outside of him, I love the rest of that offense. The pieces seem to fit together so well. I know they don't have Doug Martin back just yet, but when he comes back, they can just do a lot of things offensively. Jameis Winston looked good against an admittedly weak Bears secondary. He's going to face a much tougher test against the Vikings. Can he avoid those big turnovers that he's known for, throwing the ball away against this Vikings defense that has sort of feasted on quarterbacks that are prone to interceptions?
Yeah. No, I think that's a big key. Whether Everson Griffin can get that level of pressure that really makes his day miserable. Whether they can exploit matchups against Trey Waynes, because presumably they're going to do the similar kind of deal the Vikings this week. Xavier Rhodes will probably take Mike Evans and try and take him away. And then you've got Trey Waynes trying to run one-on-one with Deshaun Jackson. And I actually think he has a better shot of doing that than he did against Martavis Bryant. I think if you give him a small, fast guy to cover, he's okay. It's the big, physical, fast guy that he's going to struggle with because he didn't have
off his.
So he just wasn't able to deal with Martavis Bryant. But against Deshaun Jackson, he might be able to live with him just with pure pace, and he won't be physically overmatched. So I think he might have a shot at doing that, but that's the big matchup there, is whether you can avoid a big, costly mistake there.
Very true. I still like the Bucs, even if Sam Bradford's a healthy go, which the way it's looking like he's not, it doesn't seem like he's going to be.
That's like the most Sam Bradford thing ever, though. He comes out of the best game of his career. Nobody even knew that he was injured, and it was just, by the way, he won't be playing next week. He's got an injured knee.
Yeah, the line was on up until that news hit Sunday. There was no inkling of it even being an issue.
But the other thing is,
he's out.
Even if he plays, where is he going to be? Are you going to get that guy again? Because the first week of the first home game of the last two seasons, he's been legitimately elite. I mean, if he played that every week, you would have one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But then he's, gone back to just being fine again, Sam Bradford. So if you get the okay Sam Bradford, that's probably not enough. But if you get the guy that was playing like he did week one, that's enough to win a game for you.
All right, let's keep it moving on to the Texans who travel to the Patriots. Patriots are favored by 13.5 in this one. That's still too low. The Texans, I'm going to say it, have the worst offense in the NFL right now. They're the worst.
How can you say that when they went with your 7-man offensive line?
I was impressed, and I loved it so much. The use of extra offensive linemen, I was enthralled. I had the best day of Thursday night just watching that. But there's nothing to get excited about. There's just okay. I forgot about the Jets. I tend to forget about the Jets because I try to block them out of my mind. They're not as bad as the Jets, but second worst offense in the NFL.
They may be as bad on offense. I mean, that offensive line is truly, truly miserable. I was disappointed they weren't sending the 320-pound guys out into pass patterns. A run a go route down the seam with some whoever number 70 was just some sort of behemoth on that offensive line. If they were just running a seam route against, cover 2, that would have been magical.
And how bad do those 6th and 7th offensive linemen have to be to not be starting right now?
Yeah.
It's like, ooh.
So that offensive line is terrible. Deshaun Watson doesn't look any better. I mean, he basically saved himself criticism with the touchdown run.
Yes.
Escaping the pocket, making a ridiculous run,
it's like,
and scores a touchdown, and suddenly nobody's talking about Deshaun Watson. If he hadn't done that, and you had just had his passing performance or his general quarterback play minus that run from that game, you would be talking about what a terrible decision it was to start this guy, how completely unready he is for the NFL at the moment. And all those things still are true. It's just that he's capable of every now and again making a crazy play that negates some of it.
It is crazy that the Texans they're all in right now. Like, if you think about all these franchises tanking, the Texans are on the complete opposite end of the spectrum where they traded away a future second-round pick to basically salary dump for this year to try to make a championship run this year. They traded up for a quarterback because they knew they didn't have any on the roster worthy of starting to make a championship run this year, and they drafted probably what looks like at the moment the least NFL-ready quarterback of all those top 4 guys.
Yeah, and all the stuff that is wrong with him was wrong with him at Clemson. It's just he was going up against much worse defenses. I mean, you're seeing plays where he goes one read and then out of there. And that is, I tweeted one of them. It was just a terrible, terrible sign. I paused the pocket at the moment when Deshaun Watson took off. And it was a completely clean pocket. Nobody anywhere close to giving him danger. And he'd had to go from his first read to his second read on the same side of the field and was already just jittery. He just bailed. And that's just a terrible sign for a quarterback. You can't quarterback at this level if you're one read and run. It doesn't work.
It does not, especially against the Patriots. Favored by 13.5. I think they only need to score 14 to cover that, to be honest.
You're right.
We're picking the best.
Terrible.
All right, on to the Dolphins, who travel to the Jets. Dolphins 6.5. Crazy low line there. I'd rather not even talk about this game because I think the Dolphins are by far the better side.
This is your trend. Week to week, you don't want to talk about the Jets.
It's like,
they did put up 20 points against the Raiders, though.
It's the Raiders, and it's because they were down by 20 at the time. It's the Jets. There's just nothing positive to talk about, so I don't really want to talk about it. What am I going to beat you?
No, you're right.
I'm just going to tell you how bad they are every week.
Miami's going to win.
You know what you are.
Well, okay, let's give the Jets fans some. Let's throw them a bone. Mm-hmm. What's been going well for the Jets so far this season, given that nothing generally has been going well for the Jets. There's got to be something. Have we got anything on this roster that's playing well? Nothing on offense. Anything good on defense?
The grades right now.
Coney Ely has been playing okay. Run defense on defense.
No.
And Jamal Adams.
Jamal Adams. Okay, we all like Jamal Adams.
Jamal Adams is the shining light for this team.
You had a good pick.
Everything other than Jamal Adams.
But to be fair, the guy
bad.
who made that pick also picked Christian Hackenberg in the second round. So.
Yeah.
Did
you see Leonard Williams get driven halfway to Brazil by the double team of Donald Penn and Kelechi
That's
Osemele?
the hardest double team in the NFL to go up
That's exactly what I told Steve, that is the toughest double team to hold up against right now.
You have two monsters. Kelechi Osemele easily, he would kill us. He could bare hands. He could take your face probably and just squeeze
the mountain style.
He's a behemoth of a man. He has more dominant blocks than anyone in the NFL by far, bar none. So him with double teaming with anyone, and then added Donald Penn, who is a mountain of a man himself, and that's just
if you had a 6-second play, your standard 6-second play, how far downfield would you end up trying to block Kelechi Osemele, or trying to hold up against Kelechi Osemele's block?
What's he run for you? Probably about
4.8, 4.9, 5.
Probably about 5. Give him a second war. Probably gets about 55 yards. That seems about right. He would take me 55 yards downfield.
55 yards downfield.
All right, that's all. Dolphins in that one.
Yeah.
All right, on to the Giants, who travel to Philadelphia to face the Eagles, and Eli Manning is officially done.
Officially.
He just did.
According to his coach, anyway. Coach threw him under the bus.
So I actually found today, I wrote about him, and I said he was. So everyone said, "Oh, what's wrong with the Giants offense? What is it? Why are they playing?" Well, it's Eli Manning. He's playing absolute crap over the last season and a half.
He is.
And here is the best stat I found in my 5 years working at Pro Football Focus.
Wow.
So we targeted separation numbers last year, and a true accuracy number. So last season he threw to the most wide receivers who had 2+ yards of separation in the NFL at the highest rate. 53.5% of his targets last year were to wide receivers who had 2+ yards of separation.
Okay.
compare that to someone like Cam Newton was the lowest in the NFL, 32.4%. So that's like a big gap. He's the number one quarterback in the NFL at throwing to receivers who had steps of separation. On those throws, he was the third most inaccurate quarterback in the NFL. He only put 60% of those throws on the frame of a wide receiver. That is why their offense is bad.
Who was worse?
Right there. I think it was. I don't have it off the top of my head. I wish I did now. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick was one.
Always bad.
And it might have been Brock Osweiler. So
does he get credit for finding the guy that's 2.5 yards open?
I mean, that's fine. Yeah, whatever. Credit for throwing to Odell Beckham every play. Yeah, great. That's great that you can find Odell Beckham. But no.
But there are going to be quarterbacks there that there are going to be quarterbacks there whose number is lower because they're not finding the open guy.
Yes, obviously. But it's the thing is that offense absolutely requires yards after the catch. That is a run after the catch offense. That is the same thing Ben McAdoo took from Green Bay. They need that, and Eli Manning is not doing it. He is not giving his receivers yards after the catch opportunities. At that point, you're not moving the change. That's why your offense is bad. It is Eli Manning not meshing with the system. That's it. Point blank. That's the reason.
The real problem is that it's Eli Manning and the offensive line and everything else.
Then everything else snowballs it and makes it one of the worst offenses in the NFL. But that is the reason at the heart of it. And they travel to a defense that's
good.
That defense, good. Eagles defensive line gonna put Eric Flowers into an early grave in this one. I don't see this one being that close, to be honest. All right, on to the Seahawks, who travel to the Titans. Titans are favored by this one 2.5 because
it's a really good
Seahawks can't seem to score much anymore. The funniest thing to me, though, about the Seahawks, they have this terrible offensive line. Probably the worst in the NFL.
Yep.
And I think their second and fourth best offensive linemen on the team aren't even in the lineup because they play the best position. Their best position is the same as their best offensive line. So Joey Hunt, probably their second best offensive lineman in my opinion.
Okay.
He's I think it was like 7th rounder last year. Graded extremely well both last 2 preseasons and well in the one game he started for Justin Britt a season ago. He plays center though. He's a center exclusively, and you just extended your center, so he doesn't play. And then Ethan Pocic, their mid-round pick this year, the second-day pick this year, was great at LSU. I was a big fan of his coming out, but again, he was a center at LSU.
Yeah.
They don't trust him to play any other position at the moment. To me, he's probably their 3rd or 4th best offensive lineman, and they're just not seeing the field, and now they have one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL.
This is a really interesting matchup, though. Tennessee are good. The Seahawks are good everywhere except the offensive line. And you kind of expect that one of these games they're going to get just enough from that offensive line that Russell Wilson will look really good again because they seem to hover right at that percentage of pressure where it's just completely unmanageable. And if this is one of those games, they could actually take Tennessee on the road.
I mean, they could. Like, the Seahawks could take anyone. Like, the Seahawks are legitimately talented enough to take anyone. It's just, like you said, can Russell Wilson overcome that offensive line? He hasn't done it in the first 2 games. I'm not banking on it happening this week.
No.
I'm going with the Titans. I just like the Titans offense. They just should be able to score points on a lot of defenses around the NFL because they're so complete. All right, on to the Cincinnati Bengals, who traveled to the Green Bay Packers. They fired their offensive coordinator. The Bengals did this past week, Ken Zampese. Is that going to change anything? I mean, things needed to change. They were running the exact same offense as they were a season ago when they had mediocre results, and they did not have the talent along the offensive line to run that offense. Like, something had to go, whether it was the offensive coordinator. Like, you had to switch up something. I think his tragic flaw was not recognizing that over the course of the offseason, that you have to game plan around how bad that offensive line was going to be.
And they're going to need to do that. I mean, it's still going to be the thing that holds this offense back. The question is, can they game plan around it enough that it's at least viable?
I would love if they went full spread, something like a Chip Kelly runs, where I think that is their best way, is to sort of skirt that offensive line as much as possible, get the ball out quickly. You have these playmakers. You have John Ross. You have A.J. Green. You have Tyler Boyd. You have Joe Mixon. Get it into their hands immediately. Don't put it on Andy Dalton to have drop back passes where he has to go find them. Give it to those guys right away, and then let them do the work for you, because that's the strength of this team. Not the offensive line, not the downhill running game that they've been their calling card over the last few years. It makes no sense to keep trying to run the ball like they have. No. You have to do something else differently. And I'm glad they did fire their offensive coordinator, because something had to change.
This is a big line for a team like the Packers who are really banged up. I mean, they're missing important players. They're missing pass blockers that really makes Aaron Rodgers' life miserable.
Their 4 best players were out against the Falcons.
Yeah, and they're a completely different team when that happens. You know, they're going to struggle.
Yeah,
no, I know. Yeah. I'm not saying it's unique to Green Bay, but I'm saying
losing your 2 tackles was...
that would cripple most teams in the NFL.
Every offense is like toast after that. And it was a joke offense. They were running just like... those slant flats, it seemed like every single completion was that in the first half against the Falcons because Aaron Rodgers had to drop back, do anything down the field. He was flat in his back.
Is this a trap game based on Bengals having fired their guy, going to come out with a completely different game plan? The Packers still banged up? No, it didn't. I'm just saying, it's possible that this is actually closer than it looks.
It really could be because I do like the Bengals defensive line. They've actually had fairly good results there. They're pressuring quarterbacks at a fairly high rate. I love Carl Lawson. If Carl Lawson's going up against a Cal Murphy, I think he could bull rush Cal Murphy all day, a backup left tackle. I do think the Packers need to get healthy and get healthy quick because Aaron Rodgers took so many hits in that Falcons game that were scary sort of hits. He's not exactly been the healthiest guy over the course of his career. You can't subject him to that many. So that to me is the biggest thing to watch. Will Aaron Rodgers have time? Still, at the end of the day, it's the Packers against the Bengals.
I think so, too,
yeah. All right. On to the Chiefs, who travel to San Diego.
No.
Oh, no. Shot. All right. Who traveled to L.A. to face the Chargers in front of literally dozens of fans there in L.A. And Chiefs are favored by 3. I have to pick. I'm like contractually obligated at this point to pick the Chargers. This is the most biased I will ever be in a pick because if they lose this game, all my picks are officially done. 2 games on the backs of their kicker. The kicker is valuable in the NFL these days.
He needs to start attempting kicks with a backflip in them. That's the problem. He's trying the regular style. He needs to start
making kicks and stop making me look like an idiot for picking the Chargers to win the AFC.
The Chargers have got to find a way of blocking Justin Houston.
Yes, that one's gonna be tough. Their offensive line is
awful.
Who we thought they were.
Again.
I did give a caveat when I first jumped on the Chargers bandwagon. I said if they can solve that offensive line a little bit, maybe do something work some voodoo magic there.
The Forrest Lamb thing was such a body blow to that team.
That's when I knew that
it was over. You knew it hard. It was done then.
But yeah, I mean, I don't have any.
Couldn't back down.
I don't have any objective analysis I'm going to give you on this game. I'm just going to say I'm picking the Chargers, and
I'm going to pick the Chiefs purely off the Justin Houston thing. Joe Barksdale is going to get killed.
The Chiefs look like a much better team.
Well, that's it, yeah. But Justin Houston against Joe Barksdale on its own is going to be enough.
Yeah. All right, on to another team in the AFC West, the Oakland Raiders, who travel across the country to face the Washington Redskins. That's Sunday Night Football, though, so the time thing flies out the window. They're good on the time thing.
Still a long way.
Still a long way, though. It's still a long flight. The knees get a little tight on the way there. Raiders offense, though, what do you do? Like we mentioned the double team thing. What's your recourse against this offense? What do you game plan for to stop them?
You've got to hope that you can play well enough to just slow it down. You can't stop this offense. It's too good. Whoa. It's gonna destroy you on the ground between that offensive line. The best double team in football we talked about, Marshawn Lynch. The receivers are there. You've got to hope that, they don't execute well enough. Amari Cooper gets the dropsies again, which is happening.
Amari Cooper, 5 drops this year on 14 catchable passes.
Yeah.
That's I would do better than that. I guarantee I would have
seemed to come in groups.
Okay, I don't guarantee it, but I just think I could do better.
I think you would.
Okay, yeah. I would. I guarantee I'd do better.
Have some faith in yourself.
I don't.
So, you've got to hope that continues. I just don't think you can't stop this offense. You're just going to have to hope that you can slow it down enough for you to keep pace. Because their defense is not great.
The defense is not great. Like you said, they gave up 20 points to the Jets. And that was a little bit of a garbage time stuff. But those corners have a nasty habit of losing on deep balls.
Yeah.
The one thing that would worry me is that Terrell Pryor, lob it up to Terrell Pryor. That this could turn into a shootout sort of game. But at the end of the day, it's like the Redskins do not have the horses to stop.
Yeah.
Like Josh Norman can maybe take one of the receivers away.
For a while?
Yeah, for a little bit, but then shot Breland on the other side. No. It's the Raiders again. They're favored by 3. Not sure I'd take that line, but I still like the Raiders in this one. On to the Dallas Cowboys, whose sky is falling at the moment.
Yeah.
Against the Arizona Cardinals, traveling to Arizona to face a just completely inept, a team that could barely score against the Indianapolis Colts. The Cardinals are fighting right there with the Seattle Seahawks for the worst offensive line in football at the moment. Like I said, they deserved it. But if there's a defensive line in the NFL that can make the Cardinals' offensive line look competent, it might be the Cowboys because they don't look good whatsoever up front.
They really don't. And Dak Prescott has been playing badly. Here's just how badly. We've talked about Eli Manning being done.
Give it to me.
We've talked about Blake Bortles being Blake Bortles. Both those guys have a higher PFF grade right now than Dak Prescott.
Whoa.
Dak Prescott's grade, 69.9, is bad. It's 23rd in the NFL. And he is, I mean,
Are you
like
calling
I said,
him RG3? He's saying he's done.
He threw the ball twice to Aqib Talib, and they were easy reads. It was one-on-one. He was in good position.
Bad. It was the one was like cover 2, and he threw. I don't know what he was looking at. Like Aqib Talib is sinking under it the entire way. He's staring it down.
Yeah.
He hadn't looked at anyone else besides Des Bryant, and threw it with reckless abandon, just completely. That was a -2 throw in our system, even though it didn't get picked, because there was absolutely no reason to throw it. If he does pick it, it's a pick 6.
So he's been playing terribly. They should be able to get much more done this week against that Arizona defense than the Denver defense. So that's the one saving grace. They should be able to run the ball, which will make things a lot easier. Ironically, this year they might actually need to lean on that run game. And everyone said that last year it was all the run game. Dak Prescott was basically just gimme easy free play action passes, nothing complicated. And it wasn't really true. But I think it might have to be this year if he doesn't start playing better.
The other thing was their O-line's not the O-line. It was it's still a darn good O-line, but it's not. Lyle Collins got murdered, absolutely murdered by Von Miller.
But the Cardinals don't have a Von Miller. They have talent. They don't
Marcus
have a Von
Golden,
Miller.
Chandler Jones they're above average. They're good.
But I think he might be okay against good, competent pass rushes. He just
Fair
can't
enough.
block Von Miller.
Yeah, I still just the Cardinals offense terrifying.
Yes.
Like to pick the Cardinals at this point, they'd have to be playing a much worse team. Like to do what they did against the Indianapolis Colts. Like
that Dallas
Carson
team,
Palmer.
it was worrying against Denver, but the Cardinals are so bad that it shouldn't matter.
Like I thought losing David Johnson wouldn't be this huge blow to them, because I thought maybe you get back to that 2015 team where they didn't really have David Johnson. They didn't use David Johnson. Get back to that intermediate to deep passing game. Get back to that.
Don't have the line for it.
You don't have the line. You don't have Carson Palmer anymore for that. He is not. He's like we're gonna announce another quarterback. He's finished. Like he's not ever getting back to that level.
How many are we writing off?
Where every quarterback over 35 right now
is done.
They're done. But yeah, I like the Cowboys in this one. -3. I like them. I don't think the sky is falling nearly as much. Now their secondary is an issue. Another one. If Carson Palmer's going to eat up any secondary, it would be someone like this. But I still don't think I trust the Cowboys offense a lot more than Arizona at this point. That is it. That is all the games for us this week. We'll be back again next Thursday here, coming to you from Queen City Radio. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a good one.